Look at you. The power of the stock market in the palm of your hand.
Purchase your tracks today.
What up? Good afternoon. Hey. Hey. Jay, what up?
Purchase your tracks today.
I started streaming earlier, but I had some cleaning guys come over, so I had to go watch these motherfuckers while they handle their business and get their shit cleaned up. Yeah. bit. I'm about to knock the whole light down. I'm about to knock the whole light down. Ain't that some ew? Ain't it some shit? Ain't it some ooh? Ain't it some shit? Ain't it some shit?
Are you ready to drop the needle on the perfect Cointreau fizz?
What?
Ice Cube?
Let's get that. Just try to bring that a little closer for a minute while we sitting. Welcome everybody to the stream. I'm really enjoying this piece. This is gonna be like some nice. And when I put all three of these out, oh, let me see if I needed to check one message. So I messaged the guy who's I'm collaborating on one show with that Adezo, but I asked him if I can put some nudity in there, and he didn't message me back yet. But we'll see. If not, I got tons of stuff. I mean, like, I like having my nude series out, but I got tons of stuff to put out without having a nude series out there. And my master thesis is work hard, making all these masterpieces. Please believe it, I will not cease it. I just continue, man, and I burn through all these fucking canvases with this fucking ambulance. Manage it, yes, I really manage it, cause I stay stroking, I stay stroking. Ooh, my paintbrush be so poking them images I create. You fucking mind, and seems like you can relate with the time, and like my thesis is nothing but some masterpieces. And my thesis, stay in the studio making masterpieces. And my thesis. My thesis, I stay in the studio creating masterpieces. Creating masterpieces. My thesis, I stay in the studio creating masterpieces. My thesis, I stay in the studio creating masterpieces. Please believe it, I will not cease it. I will just increase it. Please believe it, I will not increase it. I will just please believe it, I will never cease it. I will only increase it in my thesis. I stay in the studio creating masterpieces. My thesis, I stay in the studio creating masterpieces. And please believe it, I will not cease it. I will only increase it.
Car insurance is fundamentally broken,
I wish I could write a
unfair,
good
and
book.
needlessly complex.
I wish I would just pay for YouTube Red already, and so I can just skip the commercials.
Be young.
What up? Yeah. I said what up. Then I said what up again. Ooh. To all my followers and my friends. Ooh. To my patriots and my fans. Ooh. Man. Let's take a trip back to Tripitland, cause BJ Boozy One been doing this since day one, man. That's many years ago. Been on your TV in the studio writing all these flows. Oops, shit, just some freestyle. So sit down, cause in the meanwhile I be wild. I mean, how can TRAP just look mean and be wild and And it seems like this shit is so mean, right? That it seems like I just retyped and man, it's all for the top of the dome. And y'all know that the South is my home. I'm just a country nigga sitting back trying to paint some pictures, really trying to stack the figures. Ooh, so Mr. Please just figure that I'm the same way. So please don't miss me with the bullshit. Teach a lesson when I pull clips. Yes, sir, that's a full clip. When I spit, you will believe it. What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? Said what up? Then I said what up again. Like, what up? What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? Hey.
Be young.
What up? What up? What up? What up? Hey. What up? What up? What up? What up? Been doing this shit since Ustream. Now we on YouTube. That mean I got a new team, and you seem like you ain't ever seen this before. Man, let me tell you, bo, I do this for my folks. This, that art and education. We in here just playing, yeah, we all relating. Decent conversation, sometimes it get real deep. We call that debating. And if your temperature get high, that mean you a lame, cause you can't deal with people who got different opinions. That mean you's a bitch, yeah, you just somebody's minion. Cause I'm fucking boss. If I'm wrong, to teach me the right way, cause I don't wanna get lost. This temptation come right way and nights turn to bright days if you can learn it right, man, and do shit the right way and teach all your kids. Don't let them just go run astray, cause we got to live and do the shit for a better day, cause shit got to change. So we stay in our lane and I stay on your TV, constantly kicking game, man. I'm painting all these pictures, man, and hope it will change somebody's whole mind frame and put them in the right space, and so they can relate. I told you, man, I spit that shit, it's nothing but some art, man. I'm starting new relationships and businesses with partners. Regardless, we starting to enter new departments, cause we some entrepreneurs, and I hope that you learn if you buy you some property, then that shit will, yo, what's up, man? Tommy Cole. Oh, I can't skip that shit, man. Yeah, that's what's up, bro. Don't fuck with me, fellas. Travis, I'm your fan, dude. But call me Cool 22, I'm your fan too. So just listen, man, cause this who I kick it to. Everybody who come up and chill with me in the stoop. Cause this is for them weird, awkward people who like education to get it in their temples. Like, man, cause we like to read and we like documentaries and like cheese and yeah. And we love art, and that's how we get our day started from the heart. Cause we different people, we kinda cool. So we come in here and put some instrumentals on to kick it on the tube. And that's just what we do. We like to act a fool, and then I smoke too. I might have a brew, but never get drunk. I like to get tipsy, but I stay drunk. And everybody trying to give them what they really want. And that's love and respect and peace to everybody who got their name on deck. Cause we in and try to kill the beat, but man, we keep running from the beast and gotta let the cool release in. I sit back and fleece, man, yeah, and my shit is all fleet, man, yeah, the positivity, energy just increasing. We gotta spread it through the streets, all these good vibes. And when we really meet, I see you. And when we really meet, man, I see you eye to eye, cause you a true guy. And you and I, we can reach the same plateau, yeah. And that's the same. Well, what rhymes with plateau? Well, let me guess. I really don't know, so I gotta go on to the next rhyme and hit it next time. Yeah, I'm still gonna shine, cause I'm your fan too. Trap House, I'm your fan dude. What call me Cool 22? Guess what, homeboy? I'm your fan too. I'm your fan too, cause I do this shit for us. Yeah, cause I do this shit for us. Cause I do this shit for us. Cause we ain't got a lot of places that we can turn to just to chill and vibe and get concerned who and talk about the daily topics and still try to rock it. Look, we got them options. Well, maybe not. It's only two, art and education. Hey, and everybody else watching sports hating. Cause we ain't hey. Damn, this beat long as hell. And education is such a broad spectrum. Knowledge is power, that's the best weapon. Ooh! Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, education is such a broad spectrum. What I say? Education is such a broad spectrum. Knowledge is power, then that's the best weapon. These rhymes down sometimes, man. Hey, hey, hey. Ooh, ooh. We still got like a minute. I can't kill this beat, man. This beat too long. But what's up anyway, guys? What time is it? It is now 10 minutes to 12. Or 8 minutes to 12. Forever. I feel like I used to be clever. Now I feel all weathered. I feel tough like leather. The young boy still supple like suede. So I try to mold them into better ways and lead them into some better days. Yo, One beat or commercial. One beat or commercial. We need to actually get painting. I need to get a good solid hour or so in on this canvas. It might seem slick. When I say it, I really mean this. Fuck it, I'ma say it. You listen. Cause I'm a mother. Still got the same colors on the palette. What is today? It's Monday. Alright, so this is kind of weird, yo, but I've been doing this for like a day or so because this dude has me back on it about my YouTube is giving me so many suggestions right now. There's so many different things. I was watching some other stuff, but now let me see, because I like Joe Rogan, but then there's this right here. That's from 5 years ago. This is even from a year ago. The year's just started. A lot of people don't have a lot of new content.
Polaris, wherever the fuck it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know that there's connections to man, you won't even fucking believe it. I'll tell you that. You want to hear?
Please.
Atlantis,
the sunken city.
Yeah.
There's a connection.
There's a connection.
What's the connection?
That there's a very advanced group that left after a catastrophe and hung around in a small outpost here, and throughout time would push civilization forward, and that's who the Greek gods were.
Whoa.
Yep. And that's why it's very interesting when the Roswell wreckage, there's Greek writing.
Is there?
Yeah, there is.
I've never seen any of the wreckage from Roswell. Have you?
It's online. You see it. Type in Roswell wreckage. You can see it.
Well,
Type in
all I've
Ros-
ever seen is the dude standing in front of the bullshit, the weather balloon
No, no.
stuff, with the
Look up-
laughing and yucking it up.
Roswell wreckage, Roswell I-beam. You'll see it. And it's got these Greek markings as far, and the witnesses that were there did what do you call it? Where they go on oath and tell. So that
Actual I-beam showing the word Eleftheria.
which means freedom in ancient Greek. So
Where's that from, Jamie?
let me tell you my.
I don't know. It popped up when it.
Well, I'm going to tell you something else. So I went and met a former director of CIA and NSA. He was director of both. I won't tell you his name. And right when I sat down and told him about my book,
Pull that picture up again. Look at those little hands.
and right when I sat down and told him about this is a big deal.
Okay,
Remember,
sorry.
so I'm sitting with this guy. He was like, not that long ago, was director of CIA, and he went on to be director of NSA. Okay.
Well, I think we can find his name.
Maybe. But right when I sat down and told him about the book, you know what he says to me?
What?
He goes, I didn't read much science fiction as a kid, but I read a lot about Greek mythology. And looked me in the eye. I said, well, you're going to love the last page of my book then. He's like, am I? And when my book was about ready to go to pressing, I had a very important person call me up. He says, can you stop that pressing and maybe insert something about Greek mythology? And I said, I sure can. So something you got to realize is, for example, the 6th biggest defense contractor in the world, at least they used to be 6, is a company called Science Applications International Corporation, SAIC. Their headquarters are actually in San Diego, and in the front of the building, you have an obelisk coming out of a fake lake and 2 Atlantean on thrones, and they're both holding pyramids, and one says the past and one says the future. And they're 8-foot tall statues. It's fucking nuts, by the way. In SAIC, they went over to Lidos.
Michael Hayden, former director of NSA and the CIA.
What about it? No, that's not him. But I'm not gonna tell you if you try and find out. Look at you guys just fishing around over here.
I'll say a name. You blink.
Yeah.
I'll show you my.
No pun
Like
intended.
what you did there.
That was cute. I'll show you my dick. Like, if you get the-
Yeah, there we go.
If you
If you get
come
it
across-
right or wrong, not sure what.
Yeah, whatever you get, I'm gonna show you my dick.
What do you think about all that Zechariah Sitchin stuff?
I think he was close. I don't think he was exact, but it's interpretive. You know, if I was to show you some symbols.
For people who don't know what that is,
Zechariah
explain
Sitchin is a Palestinian scholar that decoded a lot of ancient Sumerian texts that were written in Akkadian. Sumer was like kind of the first civilization that was advanced that we even know of, just out of nowhere here, like 3,500 years before Christ. There's mathematics, astronomy, and all this different shit. They knew all the planets. They said there's an extra planet. But Zechariah Sitchin was the one that really spent a lot of time doing that. And there's a lot of other scholars that disagree. Now he can say, you know, in those texts is the story of the Garden of Eden, the flood of Noah, like all that shit. But his take on it was those who from heaven to earth came, called them angels, but they were an advanced race. They fucked around with genetics.
Well, that was his take on the definition of Nephilim.
Was the Nephilim? Yeah, which
The
you find that in Genesis, the Nephilim. So you know he was able to tell a really interesting story based on these texts, and but some people don't agree with them. But at the end of the day, I think it's the closest thing we got. And in my early conversations, when I was being given some interesting science fiction stuff for my book, the Greek mythology part, I brought up the Sumerians, and they showed me one particular king. They said, we find this one very interesting, and I can't remember his name, but it fired so quick when I asked the question. It came right back with this whole thing on this one Sumerian king. Really interesting.
Well, what's fascinating about them is that they really did know a lot about our solar system. And you think about the fact that they were around 5,000 years ago. They had a detailed model of the solar system with all of the planets, and they were all relatively close in size. This is one of those clay cylinders that what you would do is you would put out a flat piece of clay, and you would roll the cylinder over it, and that's how they would print things.
Yep.
And this really sort of kind of primitive way of doing this, somehow or another, they knew a lot about astronomy. I mean, they knew about the structure of our solar system. They knew where the planets were.
Right. Well, you got to remember, Galileo was almost killed and confined to his house arrest because he said that the universe doesn't revolve around us. We revolve around the sun. And that was way after. That's 4,000 or 5,000 years after the Sumerians that already knew that, we weren't the center of the universe. So
Right.
It's interesting. We were really smart, and then we went kind of backwards, and there's probably a bit more to that story, too, that hopefully one day we'll get into it.
Well, it's really interesting when you look at these ancient civilizations and their attempts to decipher the world around them, and you try to figure out what did they know? How much did they know? The Sumerians are one of the more interesting cases to me because of the fact that they had this really bizarre map of the solar system.
Yeah.
When we didn't, they found out about Pluto. They had an image of Pluto. And I don't think we found out about Pluto until like the early 1900s.
Yeah, Pluto might have even been like 50s
Jamie,
or 60s.
see if you can find that out.
Pluto was found like not even that long ago. I don't
Yeah.
know if it was as far back as the 1900s.
See if you can find that out, and then find the image of the Anunnaki when they show the solar system, because the image is really fascinating. Because it is what it is. I mean, you look at it. There's a sun. I mean, it's clearly a sun. It has it's a large circle. It's in the sky, and it has like those little sun sort of rays around
This
it.
picture, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the picture.
There you go.
Yeah.
So do you know they have an idea of where to look for this extra planet. They thought in the early 90s, JPL announced that they thought they found a companion to our sun.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, that's fucking radical right there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They have Pluto in there. Now go to the discovery of Pluto. When did Pluto get discovered? I think you're right. I think it was in the 1950s. I know it was sometime in the 1900s.
Well, I'm talking about Disney's Pluto. Which one are you talking about?
1930. Here we go.
1930.
Crazy.
Crazy shit.
Yeah, so these people somehow or another knew about Pluto fucking way before us. And this is not something you could see with the naked eye. So somehow or another, and nor were those other planets. I mean, you could see a few of them. You could see Mars, and sometimes you could see Jupiter, and maybe Saturn, right? Can you see Saturn? What are the ones you can see with the naked
Sometimes
eye?
You can see Saturn, yeah. Yeah.
But after that, like, they had Uranus. You can't see Uranus.
Yeah, just the other day,
No,
I
you
think it was
can't.
like
I
the
think
one
so.
time of, I don't know, every 25 years you can barely see it with the naked eye. Which was
Uranus?
like last week or something like that.
Uranus
a bunch
or
of people
Saturn?
were at Griffith Observatory. It was like super crowded because of that.
We're not gonna make jokes and shit about Uranus, right?
No.
Because it's so old. It's expected.
It's
We'll
too
skip
obvious.
that.
Yeah, and were they looking at it with the naked eye or
I
with
think so.
telescopes?
I mean, I feel like you could
would
obviously
you go
you
to
could see
the
it with
Griffith
telescopes
Observatory?
because everyone goes there. There's a bunch of telescopes already set up every
right,
day.
but that makes sense for
sunset.
telescopes. But why with the naked eye?
Because it's one of the best places, closest in LA, or I don't know. I'll look
Okay. Yeah, LA's weird because of the light pollution, right?
No, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like that's why you know when you go to the desert and it's beautiful. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah,
That's what you're losing.
It was last week, October 19th. You could see with your naked eye.
The Uranus, you can see with your naked eye.
You guys are talking about naked and Uranus a lot here, and I don't want to make any jokes. I'm not, but I'm just telling you what you're
did.
talking about.
See Uranus with your naked eye this week. Giggle if you must.
Nice.
What a goofy name too. Like what? All the different sounds you can make with your face. And they
Uranus.
showed your butthole.
What if they just call it butthole?
Yeah, butthole, planet butthole. That would be just as weird.
I would go there fucking crazy fast. It'd be the first place I go.
That would be the first place you visit,
Yeah.
planet butthole.
Yeah,
Do you think that there's life in our solar system?
I do.
Where do you think it is?
Europa.
Really?
Mhm.
So you think there's some sort of a primitive life form that's under the ice?
I think there's life on Mars, and I think it's. We'll start from. I think there's life on Mars. I think it's small little animals and microbial or insects, shit that's kind of learning how to live with its radioactive environment. Which, by the way, a bunch of scientists from JPL found that there was some atomic weapons that went off on Mars because the radioactive signature can only happen if you explode a nuclear weapon that's artificially made, not like something that happens naturally, like a moon exploding on the surface. So it's interesting. So
Where'd you read that?
oh shit, that's been all over the place. I forgot the guy's name, the doctor's name. He actually was one of the lead scientists on the Clementine mission, which was mapping the moon with JPL. So he's a big time dude.
And he thinks there was nuclear war
Oh yeah, he
on
did
Mars.
huge. Well, he doesn't say that. He just says that.
Oh, nuclear weapon exploded
He just
on
says
Mars.
we have this signature. All peer-reviewed science that the signature of the radioactive activity from this very specific isotope that only comes from artificial nuclear explosion. or something. Shit, I don't want to mess it
Something
up.
along those lines.
Yeah.
Well, I'd heard before that they thought that somehow or another Mars was impacted, that something hit it, like some sort of an asteroidal impact, and it destroyed the environment.
I think it's if you type in nuclear weapon Mars or nukes on Mars or some shit, you'll find it.
You go to Richard Hoagland's site.
Hoagland,
shows you all the-
he kind of disappeared though.
Yeah, that guy was wacky as fuck. Like,
$25 million years ago, a new species of...
I'm fascinated by this Planet Nine thing they're trying to observe now, because this is something I've been studying for a long time. That they've been thinking there was very little evidence of it up until recently, but that there was another planet outside the Kuiper Belt, somewhere outside of Pluto. It's one of the reasons why they declassified Pluto as a planet. But now they're almost positive that there's a planet out there. They said, I think that they said within 99% certainty that there's a gigantic planet somewhere around 4 to 5 times the size of the Earth that is out way, way, way past Jupiter. And so I was going to a lot of these YouTube videos that were describing it and then reading the comments. The comments were fascinating. So that's a totally different sort of world.
Yeah.
You know, people are debating like the ramifications, and then every now and then one of the Zacharias Hitchen people would jump in there. Do you know who Zacharias Hitchen is?
No.
Zacharias Hitchen was a guy who actually, ironically enough, predicted this in the 70s. But he called it the 12th planet because that's when they thought Pluto was still a planet, and then they thought the moon was a planet. Like, this is all based on the Sumerian text. This is all getting real convoluted now. But Zacharias Hitchen, he is a biblical scholar. He's dead now. But he wrote all these books about this culture from another planet called the Anunnaki.
I wish I could pull his books out because I never owned them. But, you know, back in the day, like when I was really, really doing like hardcore groundwork because I couldn't reach hundreds of people through YouTube like this, like you just had to get out there and like do stuff. And so me and my homies, we was printing up flyers, handing out flyers, burning up DVDs, giving out free DVDs every weekend, going to rallies, going to protests, and like really like trying to spread information grassroots style. Because, I don't know, like, honestly, like I said, it was, and all this new stuff just came along in the past couple of years, yo. I was doing this stuff over 10 years ago, you know what I'm saying, before most of the apps and the streaming services and everything else. So we out there, right, and we banging the concrete, spreading all this information and shit about the government, and I'm at work. No. My girl was at work, and I go to her job. She work at like a diner restaurant, John. So go in there and waiting for her to get off, and another one of her coworkers is getting off at the same time, and her guy is there waiting to pick her up, and so my girl at the time introduced me to the dude. She's like, oh, this is such and such. He's such and such boyfriend. And she was like, oh, both of y'all be on that conspiracy stuff too. And he was like, huh? And I was like, what? And he was like, what kind of conspiracies are you on? And at that time I was banging a lot of 9/11 stuff. So we talked about 9/11. And then, you know, one conspiracy will lead into all conspiracies. And so he asked me if I ever heard of a guy named Zacharias Sitchin. And I said no. And he was like, I'll let you borrow a couple books I got. So the next time I saw him, he had 3 books for me. He had 2 Zacharias Sitchin books. One of them was The 12th Planet, and the other one was Genesis Revisited. And the third book was the book of Enoch. So he let me borrow all 3 of them. But I had a full-time job and doing other stuff, still trying to make music and stuff at that time. And so I only read the 2 Zechariah Ascension books, and I didn't get to the book of Enoch at that time. And he asked for him back, and I was like, damn it. So I gave him his books back. I know, and he just like me, cause man, you had enough time to read the books, or I feel like you had enough time to read the books. Give me my shit back. That's why I don't like lending out books neither, honestly, yo. Like I don't care if I read it. I might read it again. I read it. I didn't memorize it. I might have to read over that again to refresh my memory on certain parts. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Zechariah Ascension. So, but after I read his books, I never got copies of them to put in my own library. But they were good reading. He really breaks down in his scholarly attempt to understand the Sumerian text. And a lot of people go after him, debunking Zechariah, but then a lot of other people come to the same conclusions. And that's with anything, man. Global warming, terrorism, war. Nobody ever believes the whole story of what somebody else says if it's not in line with their own personal viewpoints and agendas. So that's why I try to read everything and take everything with a grain of salt, unless that shit, and just use common sense and critical thinking to figure things out. You know what I'm saying? If one person saying some crazy nonsense, that one person might be crazy. But if you got 3 and 4 and 5 people who are highly educated in whatever fields they are in, and they say very, very similar things, if not the exact same thing, then there is something to it. Something to it. And look into that and try to figure it out for yourself. Like I say, you can listen to a lot of people just try to debunk this or debunk that, and it's like, well, yeah, because you're going to have proof for everything on every side of every argument. And that's just how shit is.
This is transcribing the ancient Sumerian text. The Sumerians were the oldest. There he is. See that thing that he's holding up in front of him? That is a piece of Sumerian art that depicts these.
That looks like some fucking Transformer shit.
Oh, well, it does, right? Well, what's interesting is you see that star. You see the star, the sun with all the planets? That is our solar system. It's not just our solar system. That is all the planets in all the right sizes, which is kind of fucking crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and this was 6,000 years ago when a lot of people didn't even think that they thought the world was flat, right? But it also depicted this orbit, what they believe is one of the things that the Sumerian texts describe, is this elliptical orbit of this planet called Nibiru. And this planet is in the outside edge of our solar system. It comes between Mars and Jupiter. This Zechariah Sitchin translation, I think it was every 3,600 something years. And that this is where the Anunnaki came from. And then what they did is they came down here, they studied some lower hominid.
I swear, like, YouTube is crazy now, because I remember, like, literally, I had to read all this shit. There wasn't, like, I couldn't go to YouTube and read about Nibiru and Enki and Enlil and Anu, you know what I'm saying, and Gilgamesh and motherfucking Tiamat and all that shit. Yo, I had to read that shit in the book. Yeah, but motherfucking YouTube that shit, yo. I had to read Zachariah. I had to read David Icke. I had to read damn, what's the other boy name? Can't think of the other dude name, no. But like when I was trying to get this type of information right here, like that, I was doing that shit, man. I know YouTube was around like over 10 years. When did YouTube really get popular, yo? But anyway, it was like I was doing research before before I had access to it. I know I was like one of the last people I know to have a cell phone, yo. Like I ain't had a cell phone forever. Like everybody, I just had a house phone. If I ain't at home, yo, what you need to, why you need to know where I'm at? Huh? I ain't home. That's where I'm at, not home. And then I got a cell phone and I kept my house phone for a long time, yo. Now, I don't know, man. Like society forces you to change. It's weird as hell. I went off on the tandem. What were we talking about? Shit.
Introduced their DNA into these lower hominids and made human beings. And so he had predicted this planet being outside of our solar system for a long time. It's different.
And it's there.
Yeah, it is there.
Do we know what's on this planet?
Well, the orbit is different. The size of the orbit is different compared to what he described. No, we don't even have a picture of it, so we definitely don't know what it looks like. But the Anunnaki, as described by Zecharia Sitchin, is the same thing as in the biblical term of the Elohim. Like there's also different descriptions of these giants that came from somewhere else. Like those, I think the description of Anunnaki, what it means is those from heaven to earth came. And the idea is that there's advanced beings came down here and genetically engineered human beings. It's widely discredited by other scholars of ancient Babylonian and Sumerian culture, but fun as shit to pretend and read and wonder, well, what if he's right, man? But see, when you do look at some of the stuff, though, you go, okay, well, how did they know about their solar system? How did they know about all those planets? Not only that, they had the caduceus, the caduceus, the symbol for medicine. It's also the double helix of DNA, and that's what he believes it represented. He believes that that caduceus symbol that they had represents DNA, and that's what the ancient Sumerian people were trying to describe when they carved these things into clay tablets. They were trying to, as best they could, make some sort of a rational, logical depiction of what they were being told by these ancient people.
Damn. So we might have already figured it out once, and then we're figuring it out again.
Or not. Or there's just a giant.
Or they just have decorations that look like.
See, there's the double helix. See, look at the double helix of DNA.
Oh, you was on that shit hard. Yo, my family said I was obsessed. But yo, once you try to figure something out, why am I obsessed? Because I want to get to the root of it, all the way down to until I am secure with my own understanding. Cause this shit is interesting as hell, and it's hard to believe, but I gotta know the truth, man. I got to know the truth. All right. For a long time, I ain't even had no voicemail. Shoot. *69. I know the last person who called. If you was the last person, you might be lucky enough for me to call you back. Cause I ain't got no answer machine. if you call too late, I'm not answering the phone. I know that's right, bro. But yeah, research is weird because people are like, I do research. Like, dude, you watch some YouTube videos, but then it's like, that's what I do now too. It's like, D1 was like, yo, you ever heard of the Kabbalion by Trismegistus? I'm like, hell nah. He was like, here's a link to it. And I'm like, damn, that's how easy that shit is now. Somebody will read it to you. It's like, damn, I remember I used to have to read that shit, bro. That's why I tried to push that reader series, man. Reading's still fun, man. On a nice spring day, yo, get you some tea or whatever you like to drink or smoke and curl up some way nice where you got enough light and you comfortable and flip through them damn pages, man. That shit, I don't know, man. That shit take your mind all the way there. I love getting caught up in a good book, man.
Look at the caduceus, where this intertwined. You see the top one with the two eagles?
If I was 6,000 years old, man, and I was gonna design some shit with snakes,
6,000 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it would kind of look like that.
Well, but it does look like a double helix of DNA. I mean, it's very, very similar.
But it also looks like a guy was just like trying to decorate with two snakes.
Totally.
Doing the tango.
But why does it represent medicine? And why does it still represent medicine today? That caduceus, that symbol, still represents medicine today.
True. That's that one I'm having trouble explaining.
There's some weird shit. There's also some weird shit in terms of some of the imagery that they had of the solar system one is one of the most telling because it's really bizarre that without a telescope they were able to draw a detailed image of the solar system. Like, how the fuck did they do that? How did they know that there was that many planets out there? How were they able to differentiate between stars and planets? How did they know the right number of planets?
Yeah.
Not only that, they also had a detailed depiction of the creation of the moon. They have scientists and astronomers, they have Earth 1 and Earth 2, meaning that Earth was a certain size and a certain shape in the beginning, and then it was hit by another planet. That's also in the ancient Sumerian depiction of how the universe was created, or how the solar system was created. There's a planet called Marduk and Tiamat, and Tiamat collided with Marduk or something like that. I forget exactly but essentially it's Earth 1 and Earth 2. It's the same model that actual astrologers or astronomers use today when they're describing the Earth.
But he thinks these people from the other planet came here and created humans.
He does. He thinks, well, he's dead. He did. He believed that that's what the ancient Sumerian text was trying to describe. But there's a whole website called SitchinIsWrong.com, and SitchinIsWrong.com is from other scholars who were tired of listening to all this, what they felt was nonsense. And they sort of laid out what they think is incorrect about his translations. But at the end of the day, put the translations aside, and you're looking at a 6,000-year-old depiction of the solar system. It's like, what the fuck is that? Not only that, there's these also depictions of these enormous people with these little monkey people sitting in their lap. And this was what he believed was describing the Anunnaki's genetic alterations of monkeys, of taking these lower hominids, introducing their superior advanced DNA into these monkeys, and creating something that's very different.
That's the whole story right there too, yo. And that's like, and everybody says it's impossible. They couldn't have did it. Like, but we're doing the same things right now. And that's even how the Nation of Islam talks about Dr. Yaqub, the scientist Yaqub, and they have a story from thousands and thousands of years ago of, this genetic experiment to create the white man. And so there's these old accounts and old stories of altering genetics that, I mean, even the Bible said God made Adam, but then he took parts of Adam to make Eve. So he didn't start from scratch. He took genetic material from Adam to make a perfect mate. So even the Bible talks about genetic manipulation. It's weird, yo. So, and that's always my like confusion when it comes to aliens, because like I say, continuing to do more and more and more research. So you go through the whole Stinson, Anunnaki, ancient astronaut theory, but then you come upon the Fermi paradox and the Carter shift scale and different things like this. And if these races did have the ability to traverse space and time, it would be more evidence. But then Zacharias, they say, their planet only comes around every 23,000 years, or what is it, 32,000 years or something. It's like, but that's what I say. Every debate has like, the fucking pros and cons. And it's like, oh my gosh. And you can just go on and on. And it's like this loop of what are you willing to accept as fact, And then and lately, like I say, I have my passport and I want to go to some of these megalithic sites around the world that are built with gigantic cut stones, and understand like how were these stones being cut 10,000 years ago. Who was doing this? And even some black people want to take all of the glory of Egypt and building the pyramids and all of that good stuff. But when you start taking into consideration the true age of the Giza Plateau and the age of the Sphinx and everything there, it goes way farther back. It goes way further back. But then you look at the genetic Eve theory, and then everyone already says that everyone comes from a black woman. So who was this ancient group of people? Because the early dynastic Egyptians aren't the builders of the pyramids. And that's where people want to say, oh, well, we were the first pharaohs. And it's like, well, the first pharaohs didn't do that. Those structures were there before the first pharaohs, before there was a dynastic rule over the area known as Egypt. And so I still do my little stuff, but now it's like I say, you just YouTube stuff now and just try to find somebody who you feel is credible enough to give you the proper information. And that's the whole thing too, right? You ain't even got to explain that. If a woman came from a man, then how come man got nipples? And the belly button. Man, that, like you say, it don't make no sense. It's really weird. And then if that happened, if a woman came from a man, that was the only time ever. Like, So you just did it that one time, huh, God? Right. The womb of man. Womb man. Womb man. Woman. Pretty interesting. Just that one time, just to kickstart things off, huh? And then after that, everything changed. You know, from then on, it was only men and women coming from the woman. Very interesting, Bible. Sometimes you make sense and sometimes you don't. It just don't make sense sometimes what they try to get you to believe. That's what I say, man. You just gotta read everything. So you gotta read the Bible. If that shit makes sense to you, more power to you. Certain parts of the Bible make sense to me too, man. You know. And thou shalt honor thy mother and thy father. I mean, that's almost common sense if you got good parents. Thou shalt not kill. I mean, that's almost common sense if ain't nobody threatening your life. So, I mean, there's some good pointers, some good tips in the Bible. But damn. Not the meanest women on the planet. Listen here, mister. I'm not gonna have that out of you. You're full of demons. You need to go pray. That is the spirit of Satan coming through. I can't believe you said that. Do you want to go to hell? What kind of question is that? Do I want to go to hell?
That for fuck sure, right? If we found another planet there was a bunch of dumb monkeys on, we did a detailed audit of the planet and found no higher animals, nothing that had a computer.
We would drop our seeds.
Fuck yeah.
I mean, we're probably already looking for those places to just
yeah, for sure,
dudes.
At the very least, someone would fuck one of those things, like Avatar, right? That was like one of the most realistic things about Avatar, that dude wanted to fuck one of those blue people.
I would be scared to put my dick in a blue person.
Yeah, you never know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That shit probably burns through condoms.
Especially if they're big.
Blue people.
They're so much bigger than us.
Yeah.
And especially when you look at the mating habits of things that we know on Earth. What is this?
The skeletons they
a
found?
36-foot tall
fucking skeletons.
Yeah.
Throw that away. What are you going to?
I'm not going to fuck a
AboveTopSecret.com?
36-foot tall blue person.
Well, if you do, you're going to need some help. You're not going to do it alone. 36 foot tall. That shit is so not real. Well, it's fun. Most of it.
Just got an alert from Monster for a great job. I'll be out of here soon.
Let me know when that happens. It's fun. But if you look at that image that you had pulled up before, Jamie, there's an image of one of those Anunnaki having a little monkey-like person sitting in their lap. It's not on this page. It's before, when you had it, look at some of those other images. There's these ones where these guys, these enormous-looking characters, have these little tiny monkey people with thumbs on their feet, and they're sitting on this guy's lap.
They have thumbs on their feet?
Yeah, in the drawing. Yeah, they're smaller, and they have thumbs on their lap, and according to the text this guy described, The text is very confusing too because it's something called cuneiform, and cuneiform is like, have you ever been in an old building that has like those old school nails? Do you know what those old school nails looked like? Like at the turn of the century, they were like a flat top, but it was almost like a wedge, and that's what nails looked like.
Oh,
that's how that was their writing. That's not it, Jamie. But that's one of them that's similar though. But this is Egyptian. You're looking at something that's Egyptian. But the Anunnaki one, you had it from just, if you go back to that window that you had before, that had the depiction of the solar system.
Clicked around on that one, okay.
Yeah, because when you whatever search that you used for that, there was one of them that had one of those homeboys had one of them sitting on his lap. Right up there at the top. See, right there, bam. See that?
Oh.
Like, look at that.
With the thumb foot.
Yeah. There's a few of these that have little weird, that people think are depictions of things with tails. It's very strange stuff, man. It's very strange. At the very least, they had an advanced knowledge.
That guy looks like a Teletubby, the one he's holding up. He kind of looks like a Teletubby.
Well, it doesn't look like a monkey in that picture, but in some of them, they actually look like they have tails.
He got the fuckboy knot haircut, too.
There's all sorts of weird stuff involved in it. Their knowledge of the solar system is one of the most disturbing things. Because you're talking about 6,000 years ago. Like, how did they know about all those planets? How did they know that they were? They knew the right orbit. You know, they knew that Jupiter was like far larger than Mars. They had Mars smaller than Earth. They had like all the orbits correct. It was really strange stuff.
Yeah, it's too good to be a coincidence. But then I'm like, I don't know if I believe the whole shebang.
Yeah.
You know,
almost always the whole shebang's wrong.
But it would be awesome if somebody just showed up on this planet like Optimus Prime one day and was like, "Hey, I created you guys. We've been over here." Like, oh, I've been wondering where you guys were.
Would you think that would be fun though?
It would be awesome.
Isn't it better to be at the top of the food chain than to be waiting for our galactic overlords to tell us how much we suck?
It would just be it would be just awesome if somebody showed up like, this is what life's about, this is what you're supposed to do, Eddie, your fucking ideas are terrible, please fucking do this.
It would be devastating to the self-esteem of people living on Earth, I'll tell you that, because they would realize we'd be like very Lord of the Flies-esque, like we were a bunch of kids left alone to our own devices, and then when the adults showed up, they're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, and you realized everybody's just acting like a psychopath because they have no one to look over them.
It would be cool though if I've been doing it all wrong. I kind of want to know what the hell we're supposed to do.
Well, we're definitely doing it all wrong, but I think we're supposed to figure it out on our own.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if we've got Ted Cruz, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, and Bernie Sanders, they're our only hopes to be the commander-in-chief of the greatest army the world has ever known. For fuck's sure, we're doing it wrong. We're 100% doing it wrong. These are not the great.
Yo, have you guys ever heard of Thug Notes? Yo, Thug Notes are funny as heck, yo. So it's this gangster dude, right? And he sits down and he reads classical literature, or what is considered to be classical literature. Once again, it's so weird because a lot of the books, like, my aunt made me read before high school. Like, I read The Great Gatsby when I was in middle school. I read Gatsby, I read Oliver Twist, and I read a couple other books in middle school. And then when I got in high school, and the books were gifts. Like, it was my birthday, and she'll get me some books. She's like, I got you some books, happy birthday. And it was like, what the? You made me like to read. And she was real smart, so I just wanted to please her and be like my aunt. And so I know she read the books, and she liked to ask questions, so I had to really read the books. So when she wanted to talk about it, I can talk about the books with her. And cool, because, I don't know, I just looked up to my aunt. and she's a cool person. She still is. And so anyway, she just always got me these books. And it's like, dang. But then when I got in high school, it was like, oh, we need to read Of Mice and Men. I was like, I already read that. We need to read The Great Gatsby. I already read that. It's like, you already read it? It's like, yeah. This is about the rich guy. He was cheating on all the women. So one chick ran over the dude and killed him. This is about the 20s, man. Motherfucking superficial. Everybody was just superficial and just trying to fucking, I don't know, man. The Great Gatsby is a weird story how those people acted back in the day. But anyway, yo, this dude who he does Thug Notes. And so wow. Okay, so To Kill a Mockingbird, I had to read that in school. Lord of the Flies, I read that before school. Fahrenheit 451, my teacher, one of my English teachers actually put me on that book. 1984, teacher put me on that. Great Gatsby, I read that before school. Macbeth, I think we did read that in school. Animal Farm, Hamlet, Of Mice and Men, The Catcher in the Rye, The Hobbit, Dante's Inferno, Romeo and Juliet, Pride and Prejudice, Lolita, Beowulf, I read that in school. Watchmen, I didn't know that was a book. Brave New World, read that in school. Game of Thrones, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, V for Vendetta, The Crucible, Dune. Ooh, he read Dune. Yo, I gotta hear Thug Notes for Dune, yo. Homer's Odyssey, 50 Shades of Grey, Stephen King's It, The Giver. Ooh, Clockwork Orange, American Psycho, Hunger Games, Ready Player One, Othello, Heart of Darkness, Crime and Punishment, Ender's Game. Oh, he read Ender's Game? Wait a minute. Okay, so let's hear his synopsis for what was the first one? Dune. And then, all right, so we're going to hear Thug Notes for Dune, and then we're going to hear Thug Notes for Ender's Game. So Dune was written by Frank Herbert. Originally, it was a trilogy. You have Dune, you have Dune Messiah, and then you have The Children of Dune. Frank Herbert's son, Michael Herbert, got a homie to help him go over his father's notes, and they wind up writing 3 more books in the Dune trilogy. So it's 6 books to the Dune series. There's 6 or 7 books to it now. But Frank Herbert did the first original trilogy, and it's one of my, I think someone should take Dune and do what they did with Lord of the Rings. It deserves that much attention. Now, they did a movie back in the 80s, and it had Sting in it, and a couple other, it had Patrick, what's his name? The guy who played Captain Picard on Star Trek. But he was in there, and a couple of other well-known actors were in there. The graphics we got now, man, you can make the movie look way more realistic. And they did a TV show. They try to do miniseries, but it's so hard to tell the Dune story if you're not given the proper budget and enough time, because it's a massive story. But it's a space drama on this planet called Arrakis, and you have these 2 families, House Atreides, and oh my God, it's slipping my memory. And they're trying to battle for control over Arrakis, which is nicknamed Dune, because it's the only planet in known existence where there's this substance called spice. And it's weird because Dune is a completely desert. I'm gonna give the whole notes. Yo, let me stop right now. And yeah, Dune, yeah. Let's hear Thug Notes for Dune. I'm about to get a whole Thug Notes. And then Ender's Game. Oh my God, Ender's Game. Orson Scott Card. There's like 6 books in the Ender's Game series. The first book, he's a kid, but it's Ender's Game, Speaker for the Dead, Shadow of the Hegemon. Man, there's so many books in the Ender's Game series.
What it do, yo? Your boy Doc Sweets is back, and today we getting spicy with Dune by Frank Herbert. Alright, let me explain something real quick. Like 20,000 years in the future, humanity done spread their to other planets run by hood-rich crews called houses, who all taking their orders from the Emperor. This whole space hood run off a dank herb called melange, or spice on the streets. See, the only place you can score spice is up on the planet of Arrakis, where there ain't nothing but a bunch of sandworm-riding thugs called Fremen. These cats just sitting on their asses waiting for a legendary savior called Lazan al-Gaib, who's going to turn Arrakis into a water-filled paradise. Now, there also be a clique of fine biddies called Bene Gesserit, who's strapped with some banging superpowers. Word is, they're trying to breed the first ever male super dude called the Kwisatz Haderach, whose power's gonna be the swollest of the swole. So one day the Emperor tell Duke Leto of House Atreides that he now top dog of spice mining on Arrakis. Right before they bounce over to the planet, the Duke's Bene Gesserit puts their son Paul to an old school test. And truth is, Paul got a mind way beyond your everyday thug. Things ain't quite what they were expecting on Arrakis. Turns out the Emperor playing dirty, and what he really plotting is to waste all the players of House Atreides. But instead of coming out and saying it to their face, the Emperor puts his muscle behind the homies of House Harkonnen, who've been beefing with the Atreides for years. The Harkonnens got an ace in the hole, though. Duke L's boy, Doc Huey. Fool's actually a snitch who drops the Duke right into Baron Harkonnen's lap. The Duke tried to take the Baron down with him, but ends up just icing himself and some other jabronis. Feeling like a real bitch, Huey helps Paul and Jessica bust ass out of there, where they join up with the Fremen on the outside. Years pass, and Paul, now known on the streets as Paul Muad'Dib. Since Paul been chewing that spice all day, every day, his power's been getting turned up. Along with Paul's boss fighting skills and clutch leadership, the Fremen start thinking he the legendary prophet. So MDZ rallies up his Fremen posse to stomp them Harkonnen scrubs. But before they roll out, Paul decides he's gonna step up his game. So he takes a long pull from the water of life. When he wakes up from a nasty-ass drink nap, his power's so damn ballin' that he can see past, present, and future like it ain't no thing. Using that sight, he find out that the Emperor done assembled a big-ass army that he gonna use to put the hurt on Paul. So Paul and the Fremen hop up on their sandworms and wreck every fool they step to. Then the Emperor try to throw down, but Paul all like, Atreides nuts, son! Snatches the throne like a boss and becomes the new Emperor. Thing is, since he can see the future, he realized he ain't gonna be able to stop the bleak-ass holy war ahead of him. But some brothers doing all about the planet Arrakis and ecology. How any little hood can transform a planet and in turn be transformed by it. But for this thug right here, talking about my man Paul Atreides is where it's at. First off, the name Atreides comes from that player Agamemnon from Greek myth. Cause like Agamemnon, even though Paul come from a family that got solid street cred and fat stacks, his future full of tragedy. See, the thing I dig about Paul is that even though he packing some sick powers, he know he ain't all that. Check it. Muad'Dib could indeed see the future, but you must understand the limits of his power. Think of sight. You have eyes, yet cannot see without light. Just so Muad'Dib could not always choose to look across the mysterious terrain. But that don't stop people from riding this junk 24/7. Even though the Fremen think Paul the player of legend, they don't know the truth like he do. Eventually, Paul realized the universe ain't just the big unknown, it's the infinite unknown. And Paul pity the fool who think he or anyone else can control everything. So if like the Fremen, you betting all your chips on a savior who can't do no wrong, you straight tripping. Cause there ain't nobody that can tame the infinite. Nuh-uh. Even Paul with his I can see the past, present, and future bullshit can't do nothing to stop the world from the mess that lay ahead. And Paul saw how futile were any efforts of his to change any smallest bit of this. He had thought to oppose the jihad within himself, but the jihad would be. His legions would rage out from Arrakis, even without him. They needed only the legend he already had become. But peeps gonna do what they do. Worship a savior who they think ain't gonna solve all their problems. Even Paul's realest homie's gonna jump at the chance to lay their free will at that player's feet. In that instant, Paul saw how Stilgar had been transformed from the Fremen Naib to a creature of the...
Bro, that's how complex this story is. He can't even just give all the notes. He's reading little inserts from it. Like this, like you say, it's hard to even follow. Like, wait, who did what? And how? For who? And what? Huh? But yeah, like, yo, that's the first time I read Dune. I was doing the same thing while I'm reading. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought they was on the same team, but they not. But then the Bene Gesserit and his wife, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute. But he gonna betray them. But he was a Mentat and a thinking machine, and he's a human computer. But it's like, I was like, what the hell?
Thon al-Gaib, a receptacle for awe and obedience. It was a lessening of the man, and Paul felt the ghost wind of the jihad in it. On the real, it ain't a savior we should be looking for to fix our lives. We got to use these righteous players as an inspiration. Nut up and make that change ourselves. But ain't nothing in your life gonna be fixed till you hit that subscribe button. Catch you later. Peace.
Muad'Dib. Yo, my phone won't rotate right now. I don't know what is wrong or what I did to it.
What it do?
Alright, Ender's Game. Ender's Game. The first in the series from author Orson Scott Card, who's actually from North Carolina.
Hey, get the book at thugnotesbook.com. What's good, my well-read ballers? This week we're remembering Don't Hate the Player, Hate the Game with Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. It's the future, and you best believe them humans got their intergalactic travel game clutch status. Only problem is a crew of nasty aliens called buggers who've been tussling over turf with humans for way too long. Humanity ain't got the numbers they got, so they all tweaking that the next time they go toe-to-toe with the buggers, it'll be their last. So to get the jump on them creepers, the military hit the streets looking for special genius kids to take their military strategy game next level. The book followed the military's best hope, 6-year-old Andrew Wiggin, or Ender to his boys. Brother may be a little G, but he is wicked smart. So when some punk-ass bitch named Stilson roll up with his gang trying to throw down, Ender makes sure that fool never come tripping to his face again. He actually kills Stilson.
Yeah. Yo, that's crazy. I almost forgot about that's how it starts out, yo. He killed the dude in the shower or the locker room or something, yo. He killed his ass. Yo, I forgot that shit. Yo, Ender was gangster, yo.
Even though at the time, he didn't know he jacked him up so raw. Good thing, too, because at the core, Ender is a sensitive little homie with a heart of gold. Back at home, Ender always getting picked on by his violent-ass 10-year-old bro, Peter. Ender's 8-year-old sister, Valentine, though, is way more chill, and she stick up for Ender on the red. When word comes out that little Ender knows how to bang out like a champ, Colonel named Graf drop by and invite his ass to battle school, where he gonna learn to fight the buggers. Peter pissed as hell that Ender got chosen instead of him. Up at battle school, it don't take long for everybody to realize that Ender, the smartest hood up in there for sure. And cause of that, Graf actually trying to keep Ender from making legit friends. Cause he think the only way Ender can get to the top of his game is if he flying solo. When he ain't wrecking shop in the battle room and training other kids, Ender plays the mind game, a computer program that analyzes kids' psychology. None of them kids can get past a part of the game called the Giants game, where a brother gotta pick between 2 cups of drink, one of which gonna kill him. After Ender gets murked by that killer Scissor for the 1,000,000th time, he straps up again. Instead of sipping, he knocks over that juice and burrows a damn hole in the Giant's eye. Damn! Thing is, Ender can't stand doing shit like that, cause it reminds him of his brother Peter. Dude even say, this was supposed to be a game. I'm a murderer, even when I play. Ender gets promoted in and transferred to armies left and right, and eventually calling the shots as a commander of his own army. Along the way, Ender making all kinds of enemies who jealous of his mad gangster skills. When one of his haters, some boy named Bonzo, who way older and bigger than Ender, tries to boot up in the shower, Ender do what he always do. He make damn sure that Bonzo ain't ever gonna try and scrap with him again. Ender ices that fool too, but just like last time, he don't even know it till later. 10 years old now, Ender real tired of all this teacher shit at the battle school. Every time he get close to somebody or shows that he got the game sold up, the rules change on him. And Ender goes back to grinding all day, every day. Eventually, Ender has had it and want to just piece the out. So Brad takes Ender back to Earth so that Valentine can give him a pep talk. While Ender been whooping ass in space, Valentine and Peter been busy too. See, it turns out that Val and Pete got brains just as big as Ender. The only reason they didn't get picked by Graf is cause Val too nice and Peter too insane in the membrane, always killing shit. Even though they just little kids, Pete and Val know that people all over the world ain't just ready for war with the buggers. Nah, blood, they also gonna beef with each other. Val and Pete realize that humanity ain't gonna last unless somebody with brains running the show. So they get up on that futuristic Facebook and start getting mad street cred talking politics. Ender finally gets his together, but don't go back to the battle school. The military decide the clock is ticking with the buggers, so they send his ass to command school, even though he ain't even close to 16 yet. There, Ender meet a dude with some major swagger, Rackham, the OG general that whooped the buggers back in the day. After some choice words from the big dog, Ender goes into a new simulator where he commanded a posse of his own. For days, Ender fights battle after battle, some of them seeming straight up impossible. But in the end, Ender keeps it real and always finishes #1, even destroying the entire bugger planet. Everyone on the base all geeked at the win, and Rackham tell Ender, that wasn't no simulation, bro. You just killed all the buggers for real. Oh, no, you didn't. Ender feeling so shitty for committing genocide that he passes the out, going in and out of consciousness while humanity go and make an ass of itself. Right after taking care of the buggers, peaks worldwide are at each other's throats. Come on, for real? But guess who came out on top? Peter, Ender's brother. Scary ass family, man. Hella scary. When everyone realized Ender too dangerous to allow back on Earth, E-Dog and Valentine throw up deuces and start helping colonize empty bugger worlds. Along the way, Ender actually finds a pupil of a queen bugger, ready to hatch 100,000 little buggers. Turns out, the bugger's been reading his mind for years. So does he smoke that hoe? Nah, player. Ender better than that. He and Valentine snatch her up and keep on cruising, hoping to find a place where the Hive Queen can set up shop in peace. This book right here might be called Ender's Game, but Ender sure as hell ain't playing. Him, Peter, and Valentine got fat brains that make them some real badasses. Their swole abilities in line with one of the dankest themes of the book, the power to understand others. Peter digs up people's fears and uses it against them. Valentine figures out what people love about themselves and flatters them. And Ender got the ability to look deep into somebody and think like them. Card actually waving that symbol in our faces on page 11, where we got Ender trying on a bugger mask and wondering what buggers think about humans. For Ender, this power is both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, he able to use it to smack up his enemies like a G. Like Ender say, every time I've won because I can understand the way my enemy thought. From what they did, I can tell what they thought I was doing, how they wanted the battle to take shape. Ain't all gravy though. Every time Ender mops the flow with somebody, he kills a little piece of himself. In the moment, when I truly understand my enemy, understand him well enough to defeat him, then in that very moment, I also love him. And then, in that very moment when I love them, I destroy them. I make it impossible for them to ever hurt me again. So when Ender learned that he wiped out a whole colony, you best believe that messed him up. And speaking of messed up, that mind game is all kind of whack. Or at least what it shows us is, not only does the mind game...
Yo. What? No. We were breaking off. I hear you. I said that my nails are breaking off. No. Yeah, they can't get but so long though. Like I still do like man shit. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at them and it's either you're gonna take it off or it's gonna get bent back or something, and that's just gonna hurt fucking worse. I can't hear you now. I still can't hear you. Huh? Oh, well, I'm on the live stream right now. I'll call you guys back in a little while. Yeah. All right.
The theme of Ender's guilt and games, but it also repping that ain't nothing gonna stop Ender from doing what he gotta do. And in Ender's case, we see over and over that in order for him to become top dog, he gotta straight up kill children. Ugh. Not only does Ender kill kids in the mind game and also outside it, Stilson, Bonzo, and even his own childhood. Not to mention a million little bugger kids. Through the Giant's Drink again, past the wolf children, reliving the terrible deaths, the constant murders. He heard a voice whispering in the forest. You had to kill the children to get to the end of the world. So can we blame Ender for being a killing machine? Or do Graf, Rackham, and all the other peeps that made Ender what he is have to ride the beef? Show at the end of the book the court finds Ender not guilty for Bonzo and Stilson's death, saying he acted in self-defense. But don't forget what Rackham say to Ender about the buggers. Don't start apologizing for them, Ender. Just because they didn't know they were killing human beings doesn't mean they weren't killing human beings. I guess that Ender thought like the buggers, even more than he could have imagined. Hey, thanks for keeping it real with me today. Peace. Hey y'all, thanks for watching. A great way you can help us make more Thug Notes is by supporting our sponsors. This week is Audible. Audible.com is going to give you a free audiobook just for being a fan of the show. You heard me? Free. Go to audible.com/thugnotes. And if you're looking for a recommendation, we suggest the book this episode was about, Ender's Game. You heard the summary and analysis, now go hear the book for yourself. Peace.
I'm getting hungry now.
Chapter 1. Third.
I've watched through his eyes. I've listened through his ears. And I tell you, he's the one. Or at least as close as we're gonna get. That's what you said about the brother. The brother tested out impossible, for other reasons. Nothing to do with his ability. Same with his sister. And there are doubts about him. He's too malleable. Too willing to submerge himself in someone else's will. Not if the other person is his enemy. So what do? Surround him with enemies all the time? If we have to. I thought you said you liked the kid. If the buggers get him, they'll make me look like his favorite uncle. We're saving the world, after all. Take him. The monitor lady smiled very nicely and tousled his hair and said, Andrew, I suppose by now you're just absolutely sick of having that horrid monitor. Well, I have good news for you. That monitor is going to come out today. We're going to take it right out, and it won't hurt a bit. Ender nodded. It was a lie, of course, that it wouldn't hurt a bit. But since adults always said that when it was going to hurt, he could count on the statement as an accurate prediction of the future. Sometimes, lies are more dependable than the truth. So, if you'll just come over here, Andrew, just sit right up here on the examining table. The doctor will be in to see you in a moment. The monitor gone. Ender tried to imagine the little device missing from the back of his neck. I'll roll over on my back in bed and it won't be pressing there. I won't feel it tingling and taking up heat when I shower. And Peter won't hate me anymore. I'll come home and show him that the monitor's gone, and he'll see that I didn't make it either. That I'll just be a normal kid now, like him. That won't be so bad then. He'll forgive me that I had my monitor a whole year longer than he had his. We'll be... well, not friends, probably. No, Peter was too dangerous. Peter got so angry. Brothers, though. Not enemies, not friends, but brothers. Able to live in the same house. He won't hate me. He'll just leave me alone. And when he wants to play buggers and astronauts, maybe I won't have to play. Maybe I can just go and read a book. But Ender knew, even as he thought it, that Peter wouldn't leave him alone. There was something in Peter's eyes when he was in his mad mood. And whenever Ender saw that look, that glint, he knew that the one thing Peter would not do was leave him alone. I'm practicing piano, Ender. Come turn the pages for me. Oh, is the monitor boy too busy to help his brother? Is he too smart? Gotta go kill some buggers astronaut? No, I don't want your help. I can do it on my own, you little bastard. You little third. This won't take long, Andrew, said the doctor. Ender nodded. It's designed to be removed, without infection, without damage. But there'll be some tickling. Some people say they have a feeling of something missing. You'll keep looking around for something you were looking for, but you can't find it, and you can't remember what it was. So I'll tell you. It's the monitor you're looking for, and it isn't there. In a few days, that feeling will pass. The doctor was twisting something at the back of Ender's head. Suddenly, a pain stabbed through him like a needle from his neck to his groin. Ender felt his back spasm, and his body arched violently backwards. His head struck the bed. He could feel his legs thrashing, and his hands were clenching each other, wringing each other so tightly that they arced. Dee Dee, shouted the doctor. I need you. The nurse ran in, gasped. Gotta relax these muscles. Get it to me, now. What are you waiting for? Something changed hands. Ender could not see. He lurched to one side and fell off the examining table. Catch him, cried the nurse. Just hold him steady. You hold him, doctor. He's too strong for me. Not the whole thing. You'll stop his heart. Ender felt a needle enter his back just above the neck of his shirt. It burned, but wherever in him the fire spread, his muscles gradually unclenched. Now he could cry for fear and pain of it. Are you all right, Andrew? The nurse asked. Andrew could not remember how to speak. They lifted him onto the table.
They checked his pulse, did other things. He did not understand at all. The doctor was trembling. His voice shook as he spoke. They leave these things in the kids for 3 years. What do they expect? We could have switched him off. Do you realize that? We could have unplugged his brain for all time. When does the drug wear off? Asked the nurse. Keep him here at least an hour. Watch him. If he doesn't start talking in 15 minutes, call me. I could have unplugged him forever. I don't have the brains of a bugger. He got back to Miss Pumphrey's class only 15 minutes before the closing bell. He was still a little unsteady on his feet. Are you all right, Andrew? Asked Miss Pumphrey. He nodded. Were you ill? He shook his head. You don't look well. I'm okay. You better sit down, Andrew. He started toward his seat, but stopped. Now, what was I looking for? I can't think what I was looking for. Your seat is over there, said Miss Pumphrey. He sat down, but it was something else he needed, something else he had lost. I'll find it later. Your monitor, whispered the girl from behind him. Andrew shrugged. His monitor, she whispered to the others. Andrew reached up and felt his neck. There was a Band-Aid. It was gone. He was just like everybody else now. Washed out, Andy? Asked a boy who sat across from the aisle and behind him. Couldn't think of his name. Peter? No, that was someone else. Quiet, Mr. Stilson, said Miss Pumphrey. Stilson smirked. Miss Pumphrey talked about multiplication. Andrew doodled on his desk, drawing contour maps of mountainous islands, and then telling his desk to display them in 3 dimensions from every angle. The teacher would know, of course, that he wasn't paying attention, but she wouldn't bother him. He always knew the answer, even when she thought he wasn't paying attention. In the corner of his desk, a word appeared and began marching around the perimeter of the desk. It was upside down and backward at first, but Ender knew what it said long before it reached the bottom of the desk and turned right side up. Third. Ender smiled. He was the one who had figured out how to send messages and to make them march. Even as the secret enemies called him names, the method of delivery praised him. It was not his fault that he was a third. It was the government's idea. They were the ones who had authorized it. How else could a third like Ender have gotten into school? And now the monitor was gone. The experiments entitled Andrew Wiggin hadn't worked out after all. If they could, he was sure they would like to rescind the waivers that had allowed him to be born at all. Didn't work, so erased the experiment. The bell rang. Everyone signed off their desks or hurriedly typed in reminders to themselves. Some were dumping lessons or data into their computers at home. A few gathered at the printers while something they wanted to show was printed out. Ender spread his hands over the child-sized keyboard near the edge of the desk and wondered what it would feel like to have huge hands like a grown-up's. They must feel so big and awkward, thick, stubby fingers and beefy palms. Of course, they had bigger keyboards. But how could their thick fingers draw a fine line the way Ender could? A line so precise that he could make a spiral 79 times from the center to the edge of the desk without the lines ever touching or overlapping. It gave him something to do while the teacher droned on about arithmetic. Arithmetic. Valentine had taught him arithmetic when he was 3. Are you all right, Andrew? Yes, ma'am. You'll miss the bus. Ender nodded and got up. The other kids were gone. They would be waiting, though, the bad ones. His monitor wasn't perched on his neck, hearing what he heard and seeing what he saw. They could say what they liked. They might even hit him now. No one could see them anymore, and so no one would come to Ender's rescue. There were advantages to the monitor, and he would miss them. It was Stilson, of course. He wasn't bigger than most of the other kids, but he was bigger than Ender. And he had some others with him. He always did. Hey, Third. Don't answer. Nothing to say. Hey, Third, we're talking to you. Third, hey, bugger lover, we're talking to you. Can't think of anything to answer. Anything I say will only make it worse. So will saying nothing. Hey, Third. Hey, Turd, you flunked out, huh? Thought you were better than us, but you lost your little birdie. 30. Got a Band-Aid on your neck. Are you going to let me through? Ender asked. Are we going to let him through? Should we let him through? They all laughed. Sure, we'll let you through. First, we'll let your arm through, then your butt through, then maybe a piece of your knee. The others chimed in now. Lost your birdie 30, lost your birdie 30. Stillson began pushing him with one hand. Someone behind him then pushed him towards Stillson. Seesaw, Marjorie Daw, somebody said. Tennis, ping pong. This would not have a happy ending. So Ender decided that he'd rather not be the unhappiest at the end. The next time Stillson's arm came out to push him, Ender grabbed at it. He missed. Oh, gonna fight me, huh? Gonna fight me, 30? The people behind Ender grabbed at him to hold him. Ender did not feel like laughing, but he laughed. You mean it takes this many of you to fight 1/3? We are people, not thirds, turd face. You're about as strong as a fart. But they let go of him. And as soon as they did, Ender kicked out high and hard, catching Stillson square in the breastbone. He dropped. It took Ender by surprise. He hadn't thought to put Stillson on the ground with one kick. It didn't occur to him that Stillson didn't take a fight like this seriously, that he wasn't prepared for a truly desperate blow. For a moment, the others backed away and Stillson lay motionless. They were all wondering if he was dead. Ender, however, was trying to figure out a way to forestall vengeance, to keep them from taking him in a pack tomorrow. I have to win this now, and for all time. I'll fight it every day, and it'll just get worse and worse. Ender knew the unspoken rules of manly warfare, even though he was only 6. It was forbidden to strike an opponent who lay helpless on the ground. Only an animal would do that. So Ender walked to Stillson's supine body and kicked him again, viciously in the ribs. Stillson groaned and rolled away from him. Ender walked around him and kicked him again in the crotch. Stillson could not make a sound. He only doubled up and tears streamed out of his eyes. Then Ender looked at the others coldly. You might be having some idea of ganging up on me. You could probably beat me up pretty bad. Just remember what I do to people who try and hurt me. From then on, you'd be wondering when I'd get you, and how bad it would be. He kicked Stillson in the face. Blood from his nose spattered on the ground nearby. It wouldn't be this bad, Ender said. It would be worse. He turned and walked away. Nobody followed him. He turned a corridor into the corridor leading to the bus stop. He could hear the boys behind him saying, "Jeez, look at him. He's wasted." Ender leaned his head against the wall of the corridor and cried until the bus came. I am just like Peter. Take my monitor away, and I am just like Peter.
Stage is a fast and easy way to get the life insurance you need to help protect your family after you're gone.
We did it. Chapter 2. Peter. All right, it's off. How's he doing? You live inside somebody's body for a few years, you get used to it. I look at his face now, I can't tell what's going on. I'm not used to seeing his feelings. Come on, here. We're soldiers, not witch doctors. Try and beat the guts out of the leader of a gang. He was thorough. He didn't just beat him, he beat him deep. Like Mazer Rackham at the spare me. So in the judgment of the committee, he passes? Mostly. Let's see what he does with his brother, now that the monitor's off. His brother? Aren't you afraid of what his brother will do to him? You were the one who told me that this wasn't a no-risk business. I went back on some of the tapes. I can't help it. I like the kid. I think we're gonna screw him up. Of course we are. It's our job. We're the Wicked Witch. We promise gingerbread, but we eat the little bastards alive. I'm sorry, Ender, Valentine whispered. She was looking at the Band-Aid on his neck. Ender touched the wall and the door closed behind him. I don't care. I'm glad it's gone. What's gone? Peter walked into the parlor, chewing a mouthful of bread and peanut butter. Andrew did not see Peter as the beautiful 10-year-old boy that grown-ups saw, with dark, thick, tousled hair and a face that could have belonged to Alexander the Great. Andrew looked at Peter only to detect anger or boredom, the dangerous moods that almost always led to pain. Now, as Peter's eyes discovered the Band-Aid on his neck, the telltale flicker of anger appeared. Valentine saw it too. "Now he's like us," she said, trying to soothe him before he had time to strike. But Peter would not be soothed. "Like us? He keeps a little sucker until he's 6 years old. When did you lose yours? You were 3. I lost mine before I was 5. He almost made it, little bastard, little bugger." This is all right, Ender thought. Talk and talk, Peter. Talk is fine. "Well, now your guardian angels aren't watching over you," Peter said. "Now they aren't checking to see if you feel pain, listening to hear what I'm saying, seeing what I'm doing to you. How about that? How about it?" Ender shrugged. Suddenly Peter smiled and clapped his hands together in a mockery of good cheer. "Let's play buggers and astronauts," he said. "Where's Mom?" asked Valentine. "Out," said Peter. "I'm in charge. I think I'll call Daddy." "Call away," said Peter. "You know he's never in." "I'll play," Ender said. "You be the bugger," said Peter. "Let him be the astronaut for once," Valentine said. "Keep your fat face out of it, fart mouth," said Peter. "Come on upstairs and choose your weapons." It would not be a good game, Ender knew. It was not a question of winning. When kids played in the corridors, whole troops of them, the buggers never won, and sometimes the games got mean. But here in their flat, the game would start mean, and the buggers couldn't just go empty and quit the way buggers did in the real wars. The bugger was in it until the astronaut decided it was over. Peter opened his bottom drawer and took out the bugger mask. Mother had got upset at him when Peter had bought it, but Dad pointed out that the war wouldn't go away just because you hid bugger masks and wouldn't let your kids play with make-believe laser guns. Better to play the war games and have a better chance of surviving when the buggers came again. If I survived the games, thought Ender. He put on the mask. It closed him in like a hand pressed tight around his face. But this isn't how it feels to be a bugger, thought Ender. They don't wear this face like a mask. It is their face. On their homeworlds, do buggers put on human masks and play? And what do they call us? Slimies? Because we're so soft and oily compared to them? "Shout, Slimy," Ender said. He could barely see Peter through the eye holes. Peter smiled at him. "Slimy, huh? Well, bugger wugger, let's see how to break that face of yours." Ender couldn't see it coming, except a slight shift of Peter's weight. The mask cut out his peripheral vision. Suddenly there was the pain and pressure of a blow to the side of his head. He lost balance. Fell that way. "Don't see too well, do you, bugger?" said Peter. Ender began to take off the mask. Peter put a toe against Ender's groin. "Don't take off the mask," Peter said. Ender pulled the mask down into place, took his hands away. Peter pressed down with his foot. Pain shot through Ender. He doubled up. "Lie flat, bugger. We're gonna vivisect you, bugger. At long last, we've got one of you alive, and we're going to see how you work." "Peter, stop it," Ender said. "Peter, stop it. Very good. So you buggers can guess our names. You can make yourself sound like pathetic, cute little children so we'll love you and be nice to you. But it doesn't work. I can see you for what you really are. They meant you to be a human, little third, but you're really a bugger. And now it shows." He lifted his foot, took a step, and then knelt on Ender, his knee pressing into Ender's belly just below the breastbone. He put more and more of his weight on Ender. It became hard to breathe. "I could kill you like this," Peter whispered. "Just press and press until you're dead. And I could say that I didn't know it would hurt you, that we were just playing, and they'd believe me, and everything would be fine, and you'd be dead. Everything would be fine." Ender could not speak. The breath was being forced from his lungs. Peter might mean it. Probably didn't mean it, but then he might. "I do mean it," Peter said. Whatever you think, I mean it. They only authorized you because I was so promising. But I didn't pan out. You did better. They think you're better. But I don't want a better little brother, Ender. I don't want a third. I'll tell, Valentine said from the doorway. No one would believe you. They'd believe me. Then you're dead too, sweet little sister. Oh, yes, said Valentine. They'd believe that. I didn't know it would kill Andrew. And when he was dead, I didn't know it would kill Valentine too. The pressure let up a little. So, not today. But someday you two won't be together. And there will be an accident. You're all talk, Valentine said. You don't mean any of it. I don't. And do you know why you don't mean it? Valentine asked. Because you want to be in government someday. You want to be elected. And they won't elect you if your opponents can dig up the fact that your brother and sister both died in suspicious accidents when they were little. Especially because of the letter I've put in my secret file in the city library, which will be opened up in the event of my death. Don't give me that kind of crap, Peter said. It says I didn't die a natural death. Peter killed me, and if he hasn't already killed Andrew, he will soon. Not enough to convict you, but enough to keep you from ever getting elected. You're his monitor now, said Peter. You better watch him, day and night. You better be there. Ender and I aren't stupid. We scored as well as you did on everything. Better on some things. We're all such wonderfully bright children. You're not the smartest, Peter, just the biggest. Oh, I know. But there'll come a day when you aren't there with him, when you forget. And suddenly you'll remember, and you'll rush to him, and he'll be there, perfectly all right. And the next time you won't worry so much, and he won't come so fast. And every time, he'll be all right. And you'll think that I forgot. Even though you'll remember that I said this, you'll think that I forgot. And years will pass, and then there'll be a terrible accident, and I'll find his body, and I'll cry and cry over him. And you'll remember this conversation, Valley, but you'll be ashamed of yourself for remembering. Because you'll know that I changed, that it really was an accident, that it's cruel of you even to remember what I said in a childhood quarrel. Except that it'll be true. I'm gonna save this up, and he's gonna die. And you won't do a thing, not a thing. But you go on believing that I'm just the biggest. The biggest asshole, Valentine said. Peter leapt to his feet and started for her. She shied away. Ender pried off his mask. Peter flopped back on his bed and started to laugh, loud but with real mirth, tears coming to his eyes. You guys are just super! Oh, the biggest suckers on the planet Earth. Now he's going to tell us that it was all a joke, Valentine said. Not a joke, a game. I can make you guys believe anything. I can make you dance around like puppets. In a phony monster voice, he said, I'm going to kill you and chop you into little pieces and put you in the garbage hole. He laughed again. Biggest suckers in the whole system. Ender stood there watching him laugh and thought of Stilson. Thought of how it felt to crunch into his body. This is who needed it. This is who should have got it. As if she could read his mind, Valentine whispered, No, Ender. Peter suddenly rolled onto the side, flipped off the bed, and got into position for a fight. Oh, yes, Ender, he said. Any time, Ender. Ender lifted his right leg and took off his shoe. He held it up. See there? On the toe? That's blood, Peter. It's not mine. Oh, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Ender squished a caterpillar, and now he's gonna squish me. There was no getting to him. Peter was a murderer at heart, and nobody knew it but Valentine and Ender. Mother came home and commiserated with Ender about the monitor. Father came home and kept saying it was such a wonderful surprise. They had such fantastic children that the government told them to have 3, and now the government didn't want to take any of them after all. So here they were with 3. They still had a 3rd. till Ender wanted to scream at him. I know I'm a third. I know it. If you want, I'll go away so you don't have to be embarrassed in front of everybody. I'm sorry I lost the monitor, and now you have...
Alright guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll probably be back in here later. Peace.